This week on the DN podcast, Annette Dubas launches her gubernatorial campaign at UNL. Trolls and PR people alike frolic for hashtag UNL24, and the region's Nick Perlman's plan to make the stadium loop a green space. I'm Daniel Wheaton. First, let's turn to something of national importance, Obamacare. As you may have heard, certain provisions of the Affordable Care Act will take effect next month. While many students are insured through their parents, thanks to a provision that allows children to stay on until they're 26, the University Health Center officials told the DN that they feel the ACA will be a boon for students. Students who are currently uninsured can start signing up through the healthcare marketplace on October 1st. The internet was buzzing with tweets, Instagrams, and Facebook posts on Tuesday for UNL24. It was a social media push by the university to document a day in the life of UNL students. But naturally, it wasn't taken entirely seriously. Visit the DN webpage to see a storify of some of the best internet trolls, some of which work at the DN. The first Ian Thompson Forum on World Issues was Tuesday night. The economics editor of the Wall Street Journal talked about problems in Washington in his speech titled, On Capital and the Capital. That's a capital with no. He thinks Americans should be angry at Washington because of the economy.
And you know what? We should be angry. We should be angry that too many of the people on Wall Street have forgotten that they got bailed out, that the entire financial system of the United States was about to tumble over the cliff, and they were bailed out by the taxpayers of the United States. And we should be angry that they're paying bonuses again on Wall Street, and ordinary workers are not getting a raise. And we should be angry that our Congress is spending valuable time today arguing over that great question. Should we keep the government open from till November 15th, or should we keep them open till December 15th?
Wessel's lecture was the first in a series titled Us and Them, which will discuss America's economy, foreign policy, and relevance of the American dream. The next forum is on Tuesday, October 8th at 7 p.m., and as always, these lectures are free and open to the public and are held in the Leeds Center. UNL had its own State of the Union address last week. No, not President Barack Obama's, but the Nebraska Union. Ryan Lonnie, the Associate Director of the Nebraska Unions, recapped some of the changes made to the building, which included more paint, improved locks, and closing the cornucopia. Recent UNL alumni are making more than last year's, according to Career Services. The starting graduate salaries jumped by 7.5%. Still, UNL's average is below the national average. Fullerton State Senator Annette Dubas jumped into the governor's race this week. She will face former NU Regent Chuck Hasselbrook in the Democratic primary in May. She made a stop at UNL on Tuesday morning. Also, as you may have noticed, Monday's DN is different than usual. Project editor Fez Siddiqui explains.
This week's project was the Minority Report. I guess we're just calling it that now because that was the headline. And what it examined was the fact that UNL has the highest number of minorities it's ever had, but it's still pretty low. 2,328 students on campus are not white, excluding international students, some of whom are white. And while that number might seem kind of high, it's really low when you compare it to other state schools, especially other Big Ten schools.
For more details on Minority Report, stay tuned for our new Pod, or Project Podcast. It features Siddiqui and opinion editor Dylan Jones. Finally, we end on a sad note. On Saturday, terrorists from the group Al-Shabaab stormed a mall in Nairobi, Kenya, and killed more than 60 people. Echoes of that attack were felt at UNL as well, and the death of Kofi Owoner. Owoner was a Ghanaian poet, diplomat, and academic, and was also the uncle of Kwame Dawes. Dawes is an English professor and the editor of The Prairie Schooner. We end today's podcast with Owoner's poem, The Weaver Bird, read by Dawes. From the Daily Nebraskan, I'm Daniel Wheaton.
The weaver bird built in our house and laid its eggs on our only tree. We did not send it away. We watched the building of the nest and supervised the egg laying. And the weaver returned in the guise of the owner, preaching salvation to us that owned the house. They say it came from the west, where the storms at sea had felled the gulls, and the fishers dried their nets by lantern light. Its sermon is the divination of ourselves, and our new horizon limits at its nest. But we cannot join the prayers and answers of the communicants. We look for new homes every day. For new altars we strive to rebuild the old shrines defiled by the weaver's excrement.